Good evening, friends. We'll be talking about the potential of Indonesia CCS as well as its development. And to start with, I would like to invite our moderator for this session, Ms. Diovani Swandrina Putri. She's from Indonesia CCS Center. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Indonesia Pavilion. And in this session, it is a collaboration session between PT Pertamina Persero and Coordinating Ministry of Investment and Maritime Affairs and Investment of Republic of Indonesia. So here we'll have the theme of harnessing potential of Indonesia CCS development for carbon removal implementation towards a cleaner future. So I am Diovani Swandrina Putri. I am the head of business development of Indonesia CCS Center. I'm currently also working in PT Pertamina Hulu Energi, and I'm also acting as the special with the special energy advisor in coordinating Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Investment. So let's meet our distinguished speakers who will be shedding light on various aspects of CCS. The first one, we will have the Senior Vice President Research and Technology Innovation of PT Pertamina Persero, Bapak Oki Muraza. Please come to the stage. And the second one is the President Director of PT Pavilion Indonesia Power, Persero, Bapak Edwin Nugraha Putra. And the third one, we will have the Executive Director of Indonesia CCS Center, Ibu Dr. Belladonna Troxilon Maulianda. And the last one but not least is the Global Advocacy Manager of Global CCS Institute, Mrs. Gloria Turan. Please give a big round of applause here. So before we start, probably I will have for each of the speaker a little bit introduction of them. So the first one, we have Bapak Oki Muraza. He is the Senior Vice President of Research and Technology Innovation in PT Pertamina Persero. He was the Deputy Co-Chair in B20 India in 2023, and he is also the Policy Manager in B20 Indonesia 2022 in Task Force of Energy, and he was also co-lead in the Net Zero Sustainability Task Force and Chemical Business Task Force for Pertamina. And the second one, we have Bapak Edwin Nugraha Putra as the President Director PT PLN Indonesia Power, and he has the extensive knowledge in the power plant industry with more than 25 years, Bapak, working with PT PLN Persero in the area of information technology, distribution, transmission, and automated system, and many more. And the third one, we will have the Dr. Belladonna Troxilon Maulianda. She is an accomplished energy professional with over 18 years of global expertise in energy transition, CCS, and sustainability. We know her as the brand ambassador of Indonesia CCS, so she makes my WhatsApp busy, actually, because everyone just contact me if they want to talk with Ibu Bella here. So Ibu Bella also held her PhD in CCS and currently serving as the Executive Director in Indonesia CCS Center. And last one, we have Gloria Turan, the General Manager for Advocacy and Communication for Global CCS Institute. She had extensive years experience in the energy and climate fields and held a master's degree in public administration from Hartford Kennedy School of Government, an MBA from Cornell University, and BSc Industrial Engineering from Istanbul Technical University. So, without further ado, please welcome the first speaker, Bapak Oki Muraza, as the SVP of Research Technology and Innovation for Pertamina Persero.
Thank you very much, Mbak Diov. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for staying with us until this late. And hopefully in the next 10 minutes I can speak loud enough in this room. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we'd like to highlight the importance of CCS, but first, please allow us to share a bit good news about the status of sustainability in Pertamina Group. On the next slide, you can see basically the Pertamina commitments, yeah, on sustainability. Actually, we have the updated one. So now the good news is, according to the latest Sustainalytics mark, Pertamina is the first on Earth, yeah, in the world in terms of integrated oil and gas company. So sustainability is very important for Pertamina Group. How did we reach that? We reached that through multiple strategies, including capturing the methane, including energy efficiency, etc., etc. So with this, hopefully we can have proper motivations to go to our topics today, which is CCS. Next slide, please. Yeah. In the spirit of decarbonization, basically Indonesia is blessed with so many things. Yeah, you can name it. We are the first or the second in terms of biodiversity. Correspondingly, for natural-based solution, we are among the best in the world. Then we have also a lot of potential for variable renewable energy. We have also the biggest one in base load in geothermal. Few minutes ago, there was a session specific on hydropower, etc. Now, what about CCS? CCS, according to several studies, yeah, we have a lot of potentials, basically. If you see a number of studies, they are different in terms of storage capacity. So basically, in the past few years, we are trying to prove that number, the storage capacity that we have in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the general strategy in Pertamina Group. Basically, we are trying to reduce the emissions by a number or multiple practices, yeah, starting from biofuels. This morning, in NDC sessions, we emphasize on the biofuels and geothermal. Then today, we are going to present some of our initiative on CCS. Hopefully tomorrow, we are going to share some of our activities on bioenergy, and the day after tomorrow on the bioenergy combined with CCS or BECS. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we have almost 20 initiatives on CCUS and CCS. Yeah, basically we can consider some of the projects are heavy on the utilization, and some of the projects specifically designed for the S, for the storage. For the U, I think you heard the success story, the first CO2 injection in Jatibarang. And inshallah, after a few days, on the 7th of December, we are going to start the second injection in the second field, Sukawati field. Hopefully that will be the history for Indonesia to have the future CO2 cluster for enhanced oil recovery. Now, in terms of storage capacity, at least now we have about 3 storage hub potentially. Yeah? One in Sumatra, the second one in West Java, and the third one in Kalimantan. Yeah? And potentially, if we have the regulatory frameworks, if we have many things in place, we can have these potentials of injections before 2030 or in 2030. So huge potential basically. Next one, please. Yeah, let's highlight a bit some of these potential hub. Yeah, the first hub is in Sumatra. We have rigorous assessments by neighboring plants basically. So we have a refinery, we have coal power plants in Sumatra, which can be mitigated basically by one of the potential hub in Sumatra. At this moment, it's not yet gigaton storage capacity yet, but hopefully now we are opening the additional data for cell information. Hopefully there will be another good news from Sumatra hub. Yeah. Then next slide, please. Yeah, this is the second one, Java Island. Java Island, from natural gas point of view, Java and Sumatra, basically we have a lot of natural gas sites contaminated by CO2. So having CO2 utilization, having CO2 storage in Java or near or surrounding Java Island will be very strategic in order to monetize our natural gas. So we have one of the so far very interesting case is basically Sukowati, in which that we just need to make a short pipeline, only 35 kilometer from Jambaran Tiung Biru to Sukowati. Yeah. If this is happen, this will be the first CO2 clusters for enhanced oil recovery in Indonesia, just like the thermal cluster that we have in Duri. Duri is steam, and hopefully in Sukowati there will be CO2 clusters. And a number of activities in Java, including Asri Basin. Yeah. Asri Basin is basically saline formation, in which that we expect to have between 3 or more than 10 gigaton in terms of storage capacity. Next slide, please. Yeah, the third hub that we are targeting, basically in Kalimantan. In Kalimantan, we have refinery. We have also a number of industries there, in which can be mitigated by having one hub in Kalimantan. So this is also still going on. We are extending the data in order to have the studies simulation to the saline formation. Hopefully, there will be also good news from this exercise. Next slide, please. Yeah. Then there is another award or reward for this CCUS and CCS initiative, which is basically the new business. So we are expecting there will be the first ammonia business in Sulawesi, in which that we are also supporting the CCS. Similarly, we can also have later on the first blue hydrogen for refinery, etc., etc. So basically, in terms of business opportunities, CCS is basically opening opportunities for us to have low carbon hydrogen, which can be implemented in the hydrogen for refinery. It can be utilized for hydrogen for fertilizer, hydrogen for coal generation, etc., etc. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now, this is basically the core of the questions which is asked by the organizer. What is the role of Pertamina in the value chain? Yeah. Considering now Pertamina has 6 subholdings from upstream to subholding PNRE, we can see that upstream, certainly Pertamina is the oil producer, gas producer, and at the same time, we may be the potential operator for the CCS and CCUS itself. And then we have a refinery in which that we try to reduce the emissions. And then we have also pipeline business in which that at least some of our affiliations already working there. Transportations, Pertamina is also including integrated marine logistics, in which that shipping is there, etc., etc. Until the storage that we have, until the potential trading that can be done by our subholdings. And of course, the partners are not only within Pertamina, but also with IOC, with so many other companies, including with our governments. Because as you can see, that this is one of the exercises that we want to have with Pentahelix together with the society. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now, what are the opportunities and challenges that we have in CCS value chain? As you can see, the capturing, it's 60 to 75% of the cost will be for the capturing itself. Depend on where do you want to capture it from. If it is a coal power plant, it is quite costly, up to $70 per ton. And then if it is natural gas plant, in which that you already have amine systems, absorptions, etc., it will be lower. And there is also a case in which that you want to capture CO2 from dilute environment, like from the air. It's called DAC, direct air capture. And then in terms of transportation, also there are many things need to be elaborated. This is very good exercise. We have discussed it with our subholdings. They are very interested to contribute in the shipping. Similarly, pipeline also, our affiliates, they are also very motivated to consider to build infrastructure for CO2. And then, of course, there are many studies needed in terms of building capacity for us, yeah, because this is a new business. We want to learn many things, including the materials, etc., which will be used, yeah. And then we are also assessing the injection costs, yeah. Of course, this is still a number of initiatives need to be done for the injection costs, but basically injectivity and integrity will be part of the exercise when we are considering the technologies and the costs. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is, I think, one of my latest slides. This is something that can be discussed further with other speakers as well. How can we cope with the high capex? Yeah, because you know that as an integrated energy company, we are considering a number of initiatives. Natural-based solutions, certainly the cheapest one. Yeah, you can plant trees. You can get many things from the trees, oil, etc. Then you have another of options capturing methane. And now, what about CCS? Yeah, CCS, of course. We need to have learning curve. Yeah, from us we start with Jatibarang, in which that we learn about the injectivity. Now the second case for Sukowati, hopefully that will help us in developing knowledge in terms of managing typical case. Then the support, of course, from the government. Yeah. At this moment, I think later on some other speakers will elaborate on this, that we are waiting for regulatory frameworks. Yeah. Basically, regulatory framework will consist of presidential decree followed by the derivatives, the regulations from different departments. Yeah. From Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Environment, SK Migas, etc., etc. Now, what we can do at this moment, yeah? At this moment, of course, this is a good exercise for us in order to strengthen our muscles, in order to have a lot of knowledge on the injectivity, on the integrity. We need to have enough manpower, yeah? So basically, this is opportunity for many petroleum engineers, many geologists, many geoscientists, chemical engineers to go deeper into these topics. Hopefully that there will be a big business in Indonesia for CCS, and hopefully we can grow together. Just like when you want to prepare ultramarathon, if you want to run 160 kilometers, you cannot just register and then you run tomorrow or this weekend, but you need to have your community, you need to have a lot of synergy with a lot of partners, which will remind you to build muscles, to have exercise, etc. Similarly, CCS, it's basically a business that we can learn together. We need to prepare, we need to build our muscles together to have a lot of exercise, etc., etc. With this, I would like to end my presentation. Hopefully, we can have some discussions during the Q&A. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Please give big round of applause. Thank you so much, Pak Oki, for your enlightened presentations, and congratulations, by the way, for Sukawati this week. Hopefully it went well. It will go well. Okay, so for the next one, we will have Bapak Edwin Nugraha Putra for PT PLN Power. So the stage is yours, Bapak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, thank you for staying here. My name is Edwin Nugraha Putra. I would like to explain to you about how the possibility of retrofit CCS in PLN. Well, first, allow me to introduce our company. Our company is PLN Indonesia Power. PLN Indonesia Power is one of the sub-holding of generation company belong to PLNs right now. We are operate 22,000 megawatts of generation capacity. 60% of them coming from coal. This is the problems right now. 60% of them coming from coal. Another 25% coming from gas, and we only have right now 13, 14 renewable energy that coming from hydro and geothermal. Next. Well, you know that at COP26, 2 years ago, PLN already announced and put our commitment and ambitions to reach the NDC target by 2030, and also we commit to get net zero emission by 2060. We can see from the graph over here, right now we are produce 250 to 300 million tons of CO2 per year. And it will reach 1,000 million tons or 1 billion of CO2 by the year of 2060. But we will convince you, we will certain that by 2060, by doing what we call it accelerated renewable energy development, we will get net zero emissions by 2060. So how we do it? First, we will introduce 480 gigawatts of renewable energy to the systems. And it will cost us, 700 billion US dollars. Yeah, this is a huge amount for us, of course, in Indonesia, and we need to collaborate with you all over here to make it happen. So we can see by 2060, over here, we can see by 2060 that we will introduce 61% of renewable energy that coming from solar and wind turbine. And we also use the storage, whether it is using battery, hydrogen, ammonia, or anything else that can store the energy during the day and use it during the night. And we also introduce, we can see over here, 15% of renewable energy, but based on base load, such as hydro, geothermal. And you can also see 5% at the top. We introduce new technology of renewable energy, such as nuclear, tidal, wave, anything that new for renewable energy. And at the bottom, we introduce gas, we use gas, and for 30% of the energy will serve by using the CCS. So this is the things that we will do. We are certain that by doing this, we will get net zero emission by 2060. Next. Next, please. Yes. When we will implement the CCS, one of important things that when we use CCS right now, it will make double the cost of electricity coming from coal. So we will use the CCS when all of the investment already fully depreciated, or already fully returned, so that we will use the CCS and the cost of electricity will get as normal price before. So we can see over here, we start using the CCS by the year of 2035. We use 2 gigawatts of CCS. And then by the year of 2045, we will early retirement, we will do the retirement of 5 gigawatts of coal. And following in 2050, we will add another 23 gigawatts of coal retirements. And then by the end of 2060, we will use fully CCS in 14 gigawatts of coal power plant. By doing that, by waiting of the technology coming to the systems, we are sure that the cost of electricity by using the CCS from 119 today, if we use it, it will go to 102 by the end of 2060. Next. So we also already studied from all of the power plant that we have right now, how to determine which power plant that we will use CCS by 2060. We have right now 55 coal power plants that emit more than 0.9 of emissions per kilowatt hours. And then at the first stage, of the criteria, we will consider about the well capacity, forcing and productions, and then the distance between the power plant with the locations of the sinks. And then we also consider biomass use as the substitute. And we also consider the remaining life of the coal power plant after we using the CCS. The second stage, we also consider the distance between the power plant and the well, so that it will make the cost of CCS get higher. And then we also consider about the existing modifications, because we need to put a lot of devices in the coal power plant, so we need to consider whether the location can be put the CCS over there. By doing that, we already choose 19 out of 55 of coal power plant in Indonesia that be able to do the CCS. Next, please, thank you. So this is the map. We can see here, we have 19 critical coal power plants in Indonesia that will be used CCS by the year 2060. In Sumatra, there are 7 coal power plants. In Java, 10 of them. 1 in Sulawesi, one in Kalimantan. We also already spot the possibility of well gas production as well as depleted gas that can be used to store of the CO2 later on. Next. So this is just a rough calculations that by using CCS right now, the possibility it will increase the electricity cost by 10 to 15 cents per kilowatt hours. So how to make it better, how to make it lower? There are 3 things that we can do. First, we can do the profit sharing, as Pak Oki explained. It is possible to use it in EOR implementations. The second one, we also need the support from the governments, because to adjust the cost of CCS, because the price will get higher, the LCOE cost of the electricity. And the last one is, we also ask the government to give carbon tax adjustments when using the CCS. Next. The last slide is that in order to be able to make the availability of CCS by the year of 2060, PLN cannot do it alone. We need to collaborate. We need to establish the partnership with stakeholders, with you over here, to do study and do the implementations of CCS. We also propose the new regulations to the governments in order to enhance the availability of carbon storage across the country. And the last one is we will explore the financing options when we use the CCS project so that make the electricity of price get lower. That's all maybe today from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for the presentation, Pak Edwin. So it is a very bold commitment and ambition from BTPL and to do the CCS as a part of decarbonization. We'll talk about this more detail in the discussion. And for the next one, we'll be having Ibu Dr. Pelada Natroxilon Maulianda as the Executive Director of Indonesia CCS Center. Please, Ibu, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let's wait for the slide. So yeah, just a brief introduction. I'm from Indonesia CCS Center. Indonesia CCS Center is a non-profit think tank organization. And then on this occasion, I'll be talking about the CCS implementation throughout the CCS value chain stakeholder. Next slide, please. So what is Indonesia CCS Center? Basically, we are a non-profit think tank independent organization. We are facilitating the government and also the business to make CCS to be implemented in Indonesia and in the region in a fast manner. So we are leading the Indonesia's energy transition agenda, especially in the CCS, and then we are facilitating many G2G discussion and also with the international collaboration. We are driving the regulatory advocacy and also the stakeholder engagement. And then we are trying to raising the awareness with the public. We are working together with the media. We are also facilitating many study and knowledge and upskilling for Indonesian domestic skills. And then we are collaborating with many stakeholders. As you know, CCS is needed throughout the value chain in many different sectors. And then there are many things that we are still doing in terms of the CCS landscape. So next slide, please. So this is a brief introduction about me. You can call me Bella. So my name, you can choose it. Either it's a poisonous plant or a heart attack medicine. So it can be either one. So I'm the Executive Director of the Indonesia CCS Center. I'm also the Special Advisor for the Coordinating Minister in the Maritime Affairs and Investment. I've been around for 20 years in the energy sector, been in Canada for 12 years, in Malaysia 4 years, Scotland, and also Indonesia. Did my PhD in CCS in Canada. So those are the companies that I've been working before with the Ministry and Indonesia CCS Center. Next slide, please. Okay, today I'll be talking about three things. First thing is the context setting. What is the importance of the CCS value chain and stakeholder? And then diving deep in the stakeholder collaboration, and then some takeaway messages. Next slide, please. So, we are pretty aware with the global climate change, right? And then we need to help the hard-to-abate industry, and then CCS is the most viable and proven technology to help the hard-to-abate industries. And then, as you can see that we are pretty ambitious. Indonesia, we are targeting for net zero emission compared to the other developed countries that has only carbon neutral ambition. And then, we're pretty much, in any other scenarios, we know that CCS is being required either in the World Bank or the IPCC or United Nations scenario. So we are aware that CCS is the most volumetric solution in terms of reducing the CO2 emission. Next slide, please. Okay, so on the left part of this plot of the side is pretty heavy plot, right? So I think in any other scenarios that I just mentioned just now, we do need CCS, right? So even in one of the scenario, it was mentioned CCS can reduce up to 30% of the global emission. And then, as you can see, it's a climate change solution, but on the other hand, it can also be a potential new business revenue stream. On the right-hand side, you can see there's a global investment values, can go up to 2.4 trillion investment globally, right? And then there are many M&A happening recently, for example, Exxon, and then Denbury, and Oxy, and so on, right? So you can see that there are many global players that are taking into account CCS pretty seriously. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, basically this one just to show you that Indonesia is aspiring to be a CCS hub, and then we are benchmarking this with the UK Teesside, the Teesside area, which is the UK's East Coast cluster. Indonesia currently doesn't have a carrot and stick yet in the CCS landscape, so that's why we have to push forward the CCS hub concept to make it economic at scale. And then, some of the CCS hub benefits compared to the standalone projects, you can see it on the right-hand side here. It's going to be reducing the cost because we're going to share the infrastructure, we're going to share the costs and liabilities and also profit. And then, we are trying to avoid the commercial risk because later on, Indonesia is going to be open for CCS cross-border. And then, we do need the G2G agreements. And then later on, some of the areas that we have to take care of is the liabilities. So I think CCS Hub is one of the way forward. And then, we are trying to give the same equal opportunities for the whole value chain because, we do have a very complex value chain for CCS, starting from the upstream on the emission part to the midstream and then downstream, right? So in the hub, we can kind of really manage it even better rather than the standalone. And then from the UK's East Coast cluster, we're learning that it's going to create more jobs. In UK, it's creating around 25,000 jobs per year. So if it's in Indonesia, we do have a lower cost for the labor, so it can go up to between 50 to 100,000 jobs creation per year. And then lastly, we are aware that it's going to create the low carbon business. As Oki mentioned before earlier, that Pertamina, Pupuk, and many other companies in Indonesia are producing low carbon products in the future, such as blue ammonia, blue methanol, and blue hydrogen. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just the simple value chain of CCS, right? Since we are aspiring to be CCS hub, later on we're going to have a collective emitters on the upstream part, and then we're going to have aggregator, and then we're going to transport it either with the shipping or the pipeline, and then later on we do have the operator to be the injection part of it. So it depends. If we do need an aggregator on in the injection part, we can also do that business model. Okay, later on, next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So basically, we do realize that there are 4 key factors driving that we do need to build a CCS hub. So the first one that CCS hub later on can help Indonesia to develop high premium products such as low carbon premium products. If you just saw recent news that ExxonMobil invests in Indonesia for $15 billion, this is for net zero petrochemical facilities. It was launched within the President Jokowi visit to Washington, D.C. So this is a pretty example of CCS is a license to invest. So many global investors right now, when they're doing the FID, their main criteria is CCS. So then later on, these companies, they can produce the low carbon premium products. And then on the bottom left part, it's another thing that I was just mentioned just now is license to invest. So these global investors, when they're producing their new products for the low carbon premium products, they're considering CCS as the license to invest. So then the last one, and then the last 2 on the right side, that as Pak Oki and also Pak Erwin was mentioning, we do have pretty abundant storage for Indonesia. We do have between 80 to 600 gigatons. So a few weeks ago, our National Research Center mentioning that we do have 600 gigatons combined of saline aquifer with a depleted reservoir. And then, as you know, that currently we do have a regional market from our neighboring countries that already have the carbon tax, such as Singapore, Japan, and South Korea. So we do aware that we can cater to the neighboring countries' emission. Next slide, please. So in promoting the CCS Hub, there are several challenges, but then we are treating the challenges as opportunities as well. We do need the upskilling that it's going to create a future jobs with new skills such as the carbon capture. We do need some expert in carbon markets to make it seamless. We just launched our carbon exchange a few months ago, so we do need some carbon markets experts. And then we do need some experts in the emission inventory, emission monitoring, emission standards, and many more. So Indonesia just launched also 4 national standards on October 31st. We were adopting the ISO standards. And then we also aware that we do need to engage the public stakeholder. So we are working together with the Indonesian national social media, and then we're trying to educate public from CCS 101 until the benefits of CCS. And then we do aware that CCS is a new business models, so that's why we need to educate all the stakeholders and industry players what are the available business models, such as aggregator and many more. And then we do aware that we need to have a partnership between the government, public, and private sectors. Okay, next slide, please. So Indonesia CCS Center already mapped few of the possible hubs in Indonesia, starting from Sumatra in Arun until the Papua, and then we're mapping the potential main emitters, which is petrochemicals, smelters, power plant, and refinery. And then this collective of emitters needs to be mapped within the close distance with the injection area. So these are the benefits of Indonesia. First one, we are having the large storage capacity. We do have a strategic location for the neighboring countries. And then we do have strong downstream industries. This is one of the strategic initiatives of President Jokowi. We are building more downstream industries, either in the minerals, either in the petrochemicals, and many more. And then rapid development, we do have 15 pre-projects or studies within CCS, and then with the recent investment from Exxon. Next slide, please. So this is just to share with you, since I'm also the special advisor at the coordinating ministry. There are many recent progress in the regulation. In 2021, we launched the presidency regulation on carbon pricing. And then within this year, we launched few of the new regulation. The first one is on the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources in March. This one to cater the CCS and CCUS within the oil and gas area. And then there was a financial authority regulation back in August. This is to cater for the carbon trading. And then we launched the national standards, 4 national standards from ISO TC265, number 14, 15, 18, and 23. They were focusing on geological storage, and then next year we'll be focusing on carbon capture and transportation. And then currently we are on the final stage on presidential decree or presidential regulation in CCS. I think we are the first within the region to develop and to establish a high regulation in terms of CCS. So there are 3 major differences between this presidential decree with the ministerial regulation. The first one, this regulation will allow CCS cross-border. And then the second one, it will allow the emission sources from beyond oil and gas industry. And then the third one, we can inject CO2 to the saline aquifer beyond the oil and gas working area. So I think this is a pretty good progress that can cater the other industries such as PLN, petrochemicals, fertilizer, and many more. And then we are also working with the SKK Migas, the regulator in Indonesia. We are helping them with the PTK, which is the implementation regulation. And then we are also working with the international organizations such as United Nations, U.S. Department of Energy. We're going to join their CMC, Carbon Management Challenge pledge in the main event in COP in next few days. And then we are also working with many countries such as Singapore, Canada, Norway, and many more. So yeah, we are also exploring G2G. We do aware that for the cross-border based on London Protocol, we do need to have a G2G agreement to make the B2B work out. For example, we did have few MOUs between the B2B from Singapore and Indonesia, which is between Medco and Semcorp. We do have between BP and also Chubu in Japan. So we are pushing forward for the G2G agreement. So hopefully we're going to have one soon in the next coming time. Next slide, please. So this one, basically to accelerate the cross-border CCS, we are exploring this few of the collaboration with the United States. We are working together with the US DOE, with the CLDP. We were mentioned in the White House fact sheet, Indonesia CCS Center, working together with the US government to develop the regulation. One of them is ISO standards. We're going to join the US DOE in the main event in the next 2 days. We are going to co-host the Carbon Management Challenge. And then with Singapore, Ibu Wewe is here. We are exploring the Singapore-Indonesia bilateral collaboration. And then with Japan, we are also exploring the same setting. And then lastly, with South Korea, also we're exploring the same setting on the CCS cross-border. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is the last hot news that we just had. On November 13, Indonesia CCS Center was mentioned in the White House fact sheet during the President Jokowi meeting with President Biden. We were pretty lucky. We got the counterpart from USCLDP helping us to be mentioned in this White House fact sheet. And then the other one is also the investment from the CEO of Global Exxon. The investment is around $15 billion for the net zero petrochemical plant that it cannot be invested unless they can do CCS in Indonesia. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we're almost there. Basically, Indonesia CCS Center, we're doing our best to leverage CCS Hub in Indonesia. We are facilitating the existing government institution as the accelerator and regulator, such as Minister of Energy and also SKK Migas. We are also get support from the Coordinating Ministry of Maritime Investment. And then we are also trying to facilitate collaboration with the IDX, the carbon exchange. And then our center just held the first CCS forum back in September as the Asian Summit side event. And then we also help our national agency to launch our 4 national standards in CCS. And as you can see, we are facilitating many stakeholders within the CCS in the region. Next slide, please. This is just to give you a context that, we're trying to our best to do the CCS Hub in Indonesia, since we do have the strategic location. Neighboring countries have the motivation to do CCS cross-border, and then we can use the existing LNG transportation infrastructure and ecosystem. Since Singapore and Japan and many more already has a motivation to do CCS cross-border. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is my last slide. Basically, we do aware that CCS is a vital part in Indonesia for the decarbonization, especially hard-to-abate industry. And then we do need the international collaboration in terms of investment, infrastructure, asset, and so on. Because as I mentioned before, we don't have the implementation, carbon tax, and incentive yet. And then the third one is, there are several key points that we have to work together to develop the CCS Hub in Indonesia. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Bella, for the enlightened presentation. It's great to see how Indonesia is currently progressing for the CCS. So last but not least, please welcome Kumaran Turan from the Global CCS Institute to give the last presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to start by thanking the government of Indonesia, Pertamina, and of course, Indonesia CCS Center for inviting me to be part of this great discussion. Next slide, please. Just a quick word about the Institute. For those of you that are not familiar with us, the Global CCS Institute is an international think tank that aims to accelerate the deployment of carbon capture, use and storage technologies as one of the key tools, not the only one, but one of the key tools amongst energy efficiency, renewables, etc., in order to meet our climate targets and get to net zero emissions. We are supported by a strong membership of more than 200 organizations, including governments, private businesses, and NGOs. And we're certainly hoping to have the government of Indonesia join our membership as well. Next slide, please. Every year, the Institute releases its flagship report called The Global Status of CCS. And this year, we released our report roughly 2-3 weeks ago. And it's showing the global status of CCS is showing impressive momentum. In fact, the global pipeline of CCS projects has been growing continuously year on year at around a 35% per annum growth rate since 2017. In fact, the IPCC's 1.5-degree report, which was released in 2018, was quite pivotal globally to establish the scientific basis for why we need CCS if we want to get our climate targets. And the momentum since then has been quite impressive. This year, in our report, we mention that we have a global database of all CCS projects, both commercial and demo. And when we look at the commercial large-scale CCS projects, we have a total of 392 facilities in what we call the facility pipeline. Now, 41 of these facilities are in operation today. The others are under construction and development. The 41 facilities that are operating have a capacity to capture and store around 50 million tons of CO2 per year. And just to illustrate the scale, this is equivalent to removing around 10 million cars off the road in a year. So we're talking about large-scale industrial decarbonization that comes through CCS. When we look at the countries that are leading in terms of CCS deployment, in terms of the countries that have most facilities, we count the US, the UK, Canada, and Norway amongst the top 5 countries. And in fact, one of the key developments that we're observing is, in addition to capture facilities, we now have a lot of what we call transport and storage facilities. As we heard from Dr. Belladonna, the concept of hub and clusters are taking off around the world, and hence independent transport and storage operations and facilities are becoming quite important, which is something that we think is going to be quite an important advantage for Indonesia. Having said all of this, in order to meet our climate targets globally requires us to scale operational CCS capacity from 50 million tons today to around 1 gigatons by 2050, according to the IEA, IPCC, and other organizations. So we have a lot of work to do. Next slide, please. So this chart shows the CCS, the growth of the CCS facility pipeline historically. And as you can see, the pipeline has been growing since 2017. In fact, if you look at the bar on the right-hand side, you can see that facilities in all stages of development, in operation, in construction, and in development, are at record high levels. We have 41 facilities in operation. We have 26 facilities in construction. And since last year, within the context of just 1 year, we have added almost 200 new facilities to the facility pipeline, which is underlining the strong momentum that CCS is experiencing globally. Next, please. This is a global map of commercial large-scale CCS facilities around the world. And as you can see from the collection of dots, there are a lot of dots in North America, in Europe, and in Southeast Asia, including Australia, but there are very few, if any, dots in Latin America, excluding Brazil, in Africa, or Central Asia. So we still have a lot of work to do outside of these countries and outside of these zones if we are to get to that 1 gigaton by 2050 timeframe. So great momentum, but there are other parts of the world that need to accelerate and get into the CCS space and accelerate its deployment. Next, please. So when we look at the role of CCS in Indonesia, at the Institute, we undertook some modeling of energy demand, consumption, economic factors, and also CO2 emissions. And we believe that in Indonesia, in order to reach its net zero targets, there's a potential to capture and store around 10 gigatons between now and to reach the net zero over the next 30 to 40 years. And deploying CCS at this scale, at a system level in Indonesia, we estimate is going to lead to sort of significant reduction in the total decarbonization costs that the country is going to kind of have to undertake. And of course, as we heard from our other speakers as well, CCS has a myriad of applications. And in Indonesia, we can see CCS being applied to, of course, upstream oil and gas, but also in terms of power generation, in terms of hydrogen production, and steel and cement, so other hard-to-abate industries represent an important opportunity for Indonesia to deploy CCS. Next, please. We've heard already about, again, kind of opportunities in Indonesia. I think one of the key things is that Indonesia has very strong storage resources. We estimate around maybe 400 gigatons. We've seen different numbers, but certainly very strong storage opportunity in Indonesia. Opportunity for CCS networks, sub and clusters. Again, we've heard in Java, Sumatra, etc. And we have in Pertamina very strong and very active oil and gas industry expertise, which is very applicable to deploying CCS. According to the Institute, in our database, we have 6 commercial CCS facilities in development. I'm sure there are others and potential for others, but we are keeping track of the 6 large-scale CCS facilities. And of course, one of the biggest advantages I think Indonesia has is the comprehensive national CCS strategy, which is quite advanced compared to other countries, particularly in the region. Next, please. CCS provides, I think Indonesia has, as we talked about, has got very strong storage potential. And we've got countries, neighboring countries near Indonesia, who are looking to, for example, Singapore that doesn't have those storage resources. We've got Japan, who's looking to, again, kind of develop CCS, both onshore and in other offshore countries. And there are other opportunities in the region that can enable Indonesia to be a CCS hub in Southeast Asia. Next, please. Just taking a step back, I mentioned that we currently have 50 million tons of storage capture and storage capacity globally. The chart here is from the IEA, and it says that we need to get to a gigaton level by 2050. By 2030, and several gigatons by 2050. So we need supportive policies in order to accelerate the deployment of CCS around the world and in Indonesia. Next, please. And this is my final slide. I don't want to look forward to a kind of very interesting discussion shortly, but accelerating the deployment of CCS to the levels that are required will need us all to work together. This is the private, the public sector together, and the finance sector coming in to finance CCS deployment. We also need to have CCS deployment in emerging markets, developing economies to accelerate. As I mentioned in the map, there is a lot of development in Southeast Asia, in North America, Europe, but we need other countries to come to the picture. And of course, we need the society to be highly engaged in this, and we need to kind of communicate the societal benefits to the public. And of course, we need the governments to come in and help put in place supportive policies, legal and regulatory networks for the private sector to be able to kind of invest in accelerating CCS. With that, I'd like to say thank you, and you can find and download our report on our website. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, Lauren, for the enlightening presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys can't wait to join the party just opposite of our pavilion, but please stay with us because we want to have a bit more detailed discussion in here. So probably the first questions is for PT Pertamina and PLN here. You know, as the biggest state-owned enterprise company in Indonesia, so how do you see this new technology of CCS will fit into your global strategy? Because we know CCS is pretty niche, this technology, the cost, the investment, the long-term plan, and etc. So there must be a pretty unique approach from each of you in order to implement the CCS in Indonesia. So how do you see the CCS? Do you see it only as the obligation to decarbonization, or you can see it as to expand your nature of business currently that you're having? So the first from Pak Okif, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Basically, we have CCS in our net zero strategy. Yeah? So basically, I think about 2 years ago, we were working on very hard just like Pa Edwin in PLN. I think before Glasgow, we work very hard to get our net zero. A lot of teams from different subholdings, different expertise, we try to get our net zero, and then we present it in Glasgow. So CCS is very important for us. Now, the next step is basically how can we have consecutive efforts basically in order to going to the pathways which is around CCS. So from our case, we start basically with a number of projects which can be executed, yeah, while waiting for regulatory frameworks. Because as you can see from presentation from Dr. Toran, Dr. Belladonna, and also Pa Erwin, basically regulatory framework is very important here. So many things are still not defined yet. So there is a number of agreements basically which is required for regulatory frameworks, including some issues on cross borders, NDC, and also in our government there are multi ministers basically that we need to discuss with these regulations. So for us, once it is in our portfolio, especially sustainability portfolio, and then we are challenging ourselves, how can we use that to strengthen our muscles? So Jatibarang was one of the exercise, yeah. Just like our 42 kilometers marathon, we start with 5 kilometer exercise. It's like our Jatibarang, the first CO2 injections. And then we are trying to strengthen our muscles, another basically capacity building in Sukowati. Hopefully there will be also good news. And then we have a number of CO2. We have a map where we can increase the production of oil basically in Pertamina Group. Yeah, we have Ramba, etc., etc. So basically, for us as one of the state-owned enterprise, which is basically mandated to increase the production of oil and gas, this is the priority. So we utilize our knowledge that we built in CCUS and CCS to increase the productions. Because as you may know that basically Indonesia and many other countries, emerging economies, now in recent literature they call it global south, is having a big problem with the capital. Yeah, so we try to generate the capital basically by increasing the productions. So we are trying to increase the production by CO2, and at the same time we gain knowledge. Yeah, we gain knowledge, capacity building, etc., etc. So our team now learn how to calculate the storage capacity. They learn about the injectivity. They are learning about the well integrity. Actually, Dr. Bella was one of our wonderful experts. She's one of the best Indonesian in geomechanics, right? So basically, national capacity building is very important. And then, of course, at the same time, we are doing advocacy to our government, thanks to all think tanks which help us with the advocacy. The advocacy is very important to convince our policymakers, etc., etc. So there are multiple opportunities that we need to work on CCS.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer. So for next, probably from Pa Edwin.
Yes, Ms. Giovanni. Well, actually, PLN already announced our commitment and ambitions to get zero emissions, net zero emission by 2060. We already calculate the availability of renewable energy resources in our country. Even though if we use all of them, we cannot support all the power that we need by 2060. We cannot do that. So either we will use nuclear. Well, actually, we already introduced nuclear for 5% already. We need to add it more. But in the other ones, we also consider about energy security. So we still need coal power plants. 4 years longer. And then the important thing is how to reduce the emissions emitted by the coal. So CCS plays important role over there. If we calculate in 2035, we need to use CCS as soon as 10 years more from now, 2 gigawatts, and then it will become 14 gigawatts in 2060, and we can reduce the emissions from 2 gigawatts until 108 million tons of CO2 per year by using the CCS for 14% gigawatt. Another important thing is about the technology that we use for CCS, because we need to put the CCS in the locations of coal power plants. We need special locations. Not all of our coal power plant already designed to have a huge space over there to put it there. So that we need technology to make it small, but biggest efficiency, of course. And the other thing is that it will absorb energy from the coal. With the technology today, the coal only have 70% of energy if they use CCS. So the technology is very important to make it better power output. Maybe will become 80 or even 90% of that. So that's so we commit. We will use the CCS because the energy for renewable energy is not enough to support the total energy for Indonesia in 2060. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Pak Oki and Pak Edwin. So, I'll understand that from industry perspective, CCS is important indeed for both of you, from the upstream sector and the downstream sector. So, related to that, as mentioned from Ibu Bella presentation, that in a way, CCS a license to invest in Indonesia, because President Jokowi and President Joe Biden is talking about that regarding the investment and regarding the CCS project. But we want to know about perspective from the other countries. If I may, Mrs. Gularan, if you have any perspective from the other countries, how they are seeing CCS, is it also the license to invest, or they just only doing the CCS for decarbonization?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And I think it's a bit of both. So CCS, a lot of the countries have net zero targets now, and it's recognized that it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to get to net zero without CCS. So we're seeing governments around the world put in place supportive policies, subsidies, carbon taxes, or carbon trading systems that actually help to make the business case for CCS. Therefore, blue products like blue hydrogen, for example, are becoming quite important. We're looking to have decarbonized products like cement and steel for example, in Europe, which is putting in place the carbon border adjustment mechanism. So I think it's a case of needing to get to net zero and CCS being a crucial technology for that, as well as having the business cases that make CCS an interesting business opportunity for an energy transition. So it's both.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. And how do you see Indonesia fits into that? Should I say we are probably the leading in Asia, but to be honest, if we compare with UK, Norway, and US, they developed countries, they'll already implement this technology far away before us. So how do you see Indonesia can benefit from this technology?
I think Indonesia has made some great advances over the past sort of couple, 2-3 years. We talk about sort of capacity building. We talk about having an atlas of storage resources. We talk about having legal and regulatory frameworks in place as the first steps, as the no-regret options for CCS deployment. And when we look at Indonesia, we have the Indonesia CCS Center supporting the capacity building. We have the government speedily putting in place. It's not 100% there, but it's made incredible progress and being the first sort of country in Asia. And of course, we have Pertamina, which has deep understanding of the storage resources. So, it doesn't have any large-scale operational projects yet, but I think compared to the other countries in the region, Indonesia is very much, I see it as being sort of further ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for saying that. Okay, so I know you know that the readiness of Indonesia in CCS is currently developing and progressing. We can say we have the quantum leap for that. And Ibu Bella from Indonesia CCS Center, you know, you have the strategic role to connecting all of the stakeholders, the government, the institution, the industry itself, the value chain, the partnership with the regional and international, you know. So you know the appetite for each stakeholder, but what about the public? How do you, what's your opinion about our public sentiment regarding this new technology, you know, because people in Indonesia is currently very new technology, right? So we have to, I don't know, we have to probably explaining from the very general basic of CCS technology. But what is this Indonesia CCS role in this thing for the public sentiment in Indonesia?
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Dia, for the difficult question, right? So basically, there's a saying in Indonesia, kalau tak kenal tak sayang, right? So if you don't know someone, you cannot love them, basically, right? So same thing with CCS, right? So basically, in Indonesia CCS Center, we are trying to do three things with the public. So the first one, we're trying to raise their awareness first, right? So they have to know about CCS first. So we've been working together with the media, the national leading media, which is Narasi, and then we also have few engagement with the chief editor media. So that's the first one. We are raising the awareness first. And then the second one, when they already aware about the CCS, we have to share with them the benefits out of it, right? So it's not about the benefits, probably the first basic things such as it's safe, it's a proven technology, right? And it's been around for many, many years. And then basically the same concept with the oil and gas production. It's just the other way around, the concept, right? We do need do more feasibility studies and so on and so on. So we just need to lay the principle, fundamental, basic first. And then the third one, of course, we do aware that Indonesia is an emerging country. So we do need to show them the multiplier effects, right? Such as the job creation, new industries, and then we have to make sure that the future generation they're gonna have jobs within this new business model, within this new sector, right? So let me summarize that. With the public, we do need three things: raising the awareness, laying the fundamental concept about CCS, and then the multiplier effect about CCS. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the answer. So we are now collecting all of the puzzles for the CCS. We have the industry that is already ready to implement the CCS, and we have the enabler or the connector, which is the Indonesia CCS Center. And from the perspective of the Global CCS Institute as well, that Indonesia is currently leading on the CCS deployment. So probably for the closing punchline here, for Pertamina, PLN, and Indonesia CCS Center, based on the readiness of Indonesia that we have been discussing in this very event, what is your company or your organization's roles to take part in this journey for the implementing CCS in the next 5 years? So probably we'll start from Pak Oki first.
Yeah, so basically the key for business, the new business, which is still having unclear boundary, yeah, or the boundary condition is not yet fixed. Basically, the key is the collaboration. So this is what we are doing with the hydrogen business. This is what we are doing also with CCS. As you can see that we have a lot of partners in CCUS and CCS. So hopefully with the strong motivation to have new business, we can work together with many parties. Yeah, we are collaborating with other sister company SOE. We are collaborating with IOC, NOC, with government, etc., etc. So basically, the key will be the further collaboration with many parties.
Thank you so much for the answer. Go ahead, Pak Edwin, your turn.
Well, we need 700 billion US dollar to get net zero emission by 2060. Yeah, I agree with Pak Oki. We need to do collaborations with others. We need partnership with others. And also, we need to master the technology of CCUS. It is not the things that's coming from Indonesia, but from outside. So Yes, we need collaborate with others to know the technology. And then we also need partnership maybe with Pertamina because we need to put the emissions, the CO2 as a storage or AOR as we explained before, so that it will get more benefit by using that one. And we commit that by doing that, PLN will get net zero emission by 2060. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Pavilion. Go ahead, Papela, your answer, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I think there are three things that we do need to establish by Indonesia CCS Center within the next few years. So the first one, we do need the enabling regulatory framework environment, right? Since we cannot do anything, we cannot attract the investors if we don't have the regulatory framework that enable the CCS, right? So that's why we are working on the presidential decree. We are working on the SKK Migas, PTK, Indonesian national standards, and many, many more. So Indonesia CCS Center are helping on that one. So that's the first one. We do need the enabler regulatory framework. And then the second one, we do need to engage and manage the stakeholders, which is the first one is the public, right? Like what we've been doing right now. We don't want to have a showstopper like what is happening in the Australia and Germany, right? So that's the second one. And then the third one, like Pa Oki and Pa Edwin was mentioning that, we do need a partnership. We do need a detailed partnership between G2G for the CCS cross-border, for the B2B as a CCS hub. We do need the public and private partnership for the funding. There are many transition mechanism funding that are available, such as from Standard Chartered, from IFC and World Bank, and many more, right? So I think let me summarize that again. So the first one is on the enabling regulatory framework. Second one is the stakeholder engagement and management. And then third one is the collaboration and partnership between G2G, B2B, and the public and private sector.
Thank you so much for the answer, Dr. Baladona. So probably the last one from Ibu Koloran. Do you have any suggestion for a quick win strategy for Indonesia to implement this? Because, we do have all of the collaborative efforts from the industry and the Indonesia Center have been doing right now. So what is your suggestion for the quick win to Indonesia to implement this?
I think Mr. Muraza said it well. It's a marathon, and it's kind of difficult to do the quick wins. But as I mentioned before, I think Indonesia has kind of progressed quite rapidly in a number of years, and we are collaborating actively with the Indonesia CCS Center, and we as the Institute stand ready to support the government and the industry in any knowledge sharing or advocacy efforts that are necessary. So I think this is a long-term capacity building exercise. But I think you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, we reached the end of our conversation here. So, we have to ensure that the CCS will not only be the hot topic for this year, but we have to ensure that this will be implemented in Indonesia soon. So, thank you very much for the honorable speakers here, for your time, and for the ladies and gentlemen here for the audience. Thank you so much, and have a good day.